What up, people? Your boy David J here. Welcome to my new Spaceship Music Sonic Vibranium sample series, where I take you behind the scenes and break down some of the phenomenal tracks I produced, starting with my brand new single, Unstoppable. Yes, the t-shirt and hoodie is available now at itsdavidj.shop, so if you want to represent that unstoppable lifestyle, make sure you head over there now and get that. Now, come on. Okay, so the first thing that's really interesting about the song Unstoppable is I actually made it for the 2024 Olympics. I got a call, actually a DM from one of my homies that actually co-wrote the song with me. Shout out to my brother G. And he said that A&R was looking for some songs for the 2024 Olympics, need to be very up-tempo, need to be cinematic. So I automatically kicked into gear and said boom. And this was the first one that I actually made. Did not get picked for the 2024 Olympics, but I believe everything happens for a reason, and it was supposed to be a release by me. So the song Unstoppable came about. The funny thing is, if you know me in real life, if you ever come to the spaceship, I call it Wakanda, right? So when you first come, I say, welcome to Wakanda. So the name of this track is actually Wakanda Pop. Because I was like, I wanted to have a lot of percussion, I wanted to have high energy, and as we see in the title, Sonic Vibranium is what we create. So I called it Wakanda Pop. So what I'm gonna do is break down piece by piece how I got started on the record, all right? Come a little closer though. Okay, so the first thing I wanted to do is make sure the tempo was really high, had a good energy feeling. So I set the tempo at about 130, which sounds like this. Right? So that 130 tempo gives it that feeling. It's gonna make you go like this right off the bat. You feeling this energy, energetic, right? So the first sound I started with was some percussion. Like I said, I called it Wakanda Pop. So I wanted to make sure I had those percussions going strong. And so you can see here, I had some of these, some nice percussion sounds, right? And so I think the first one I started with was like this kick here. Make sure I had that bop, right? So that came out like this. Right? So I had to turn off the metronome for you so you could hear that. So I started off with that kick, right? And so the next thing I wanted to add was a different kind of percussion sound, right? So these, as you can see, these are other kind of percussion sounds, right? And so what I did here was I wanted to make sure that we did a layer on that kick there, right? So I believe that's this sound here. Right? And so that, when you put them together, came out like this. So I had a nice counter melody there. So then we want to keep layering. So the next thing I did was some of these timpani hits here, and I believe it's here like this. Like a storm drum kind of thing, right? So when you put that layer in with the other two I just played you, you get this here. Already feels good, right? So we want to keep going. So the next thing I want to do is add another layer of the storm drum, but on a higher timpani, right? So right? And so when you put those together, you get it's already feeling the energy, you feeling it move, right? Okay, so the next sound I wanted to add, I had all those movement going. I wanted to add something that was heavy, that had like a drum roll kind of feel, but with reverb to give it some space and some heaviness. So it's this sound right here. Crazy, right? So now when you put that sound in, this is what I got. Crazy, right? Look, Yeah. And we're not done. Like I said, I called it Wakanda Pop, so percussion was the main point that I wanted to focus on this, right? Made me feel unstoppable, like the shirt says. Again, hoodie and shirt available now at itsdavidj.shop, link right here. So the next thing I added was a tambourine, right? And so I wanted to have it just a consistent tambourine, right? So when you put those in, and it only come in after the first 4 bars, right? Because I had to make sure progression is what's happening. So for the first 4 bars, you get this. There we go. Tambourine. Yeah. Woo! You heard that big gong come in because that's progression into the next part of the song, which is the first verse. So that big gong was on part of the last percussion set I put in. But that's, so the next thing I added was some hi-hats, right? So it's like just some back and forth to give it that texture there. Keep the movement there, right? Again, that came in on the second 4 bars. So we add that in, it sounds like this. Okay, so that's the intro of the percussions going on, all the drums, all the movement. Now we got to bring in some other stuff, right? Which leads us to the movement of the song. And now first thing I added was some brass. And you know, the brass makes the song sound, you know, when you think Olympics, when you think like contest, champion type of thing, you think brass. Brass, right? So heavy brass. I added some reverb on there, tightened it up a little bit. The key that we're in on this song is D minor, and so that's right here. Right. So I started with that right there, and then went up to a. There you go. Okay, so when you add that brass I just played in with the rest of it, you get this. Right, so that's the intro, but now there's one more sound I had, and that's a choir sound, just to give it that feeling of gothic things going on, right? And so that's this here. Right? Choirs, right? And so it's like right, and I believe it's octave up here. Right, for the second half of that intro, I added those in. So when you add that in now with the brass and the rest of the percussion, that's the complete intro. Here we go. And as you can see, some piano and stuff come in. So now we got down with the intro. Let's get into the meat and potatoes of the track. Stay with me. The first thing I do when I produce really is I usually build a hook first. So I build all the instruments around it and then take out what's needed. In this case, I knew I wanted that percussion heavy, so I started with that percussion. So now that we're getting into the meat and potatoes, what I wanted to do was get the feeling of how that thing was going to flow. And so the first thing, because it's this kind of epic song, we need a sweep, right? To just take you to the story. And so that's this sound here. Right, and so I put that in just to give you that feel of, oh, the story has just started, right? And so now, after that, we get into what's going to be needed for actually making the song sound like something, right? Then I started with this piano to give it that deep down feel, right? But down here. So that's how we started the verse off, right? So when you do that, you get that piano with that sweep coming in on the verse. You get that all the way through like this. Right? So that's just the bass. That's setting the tone for what I'm going to build around, right? Okay, so after that, we want to add in the next thing, which is some chords. And so this is a layer I did. It's called a pad, a calming pad I like to use. It's one of my favorite pads. Okay, so we got boom, 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 boom. Right? And so when you put that with the piano I just played, the pad, the piano, and then the sweeper, right? So we're just building it piece by piece, and this is how we build tracks, right? So here we go. Started a verse. Right, boom, right? So then what you want to do, I always add a layer on the bottom of that pad just to give it some extra bottom to go with that piano. It's down. It's just low, so it's like boom, 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 boom. Right? And that may not be picking up all the way on the microphone there, but it's just really to give it some presence underneath that pad. So when you put them all together there, you get boom, right? And so beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So then I add a nice little electric piano sound again to give a nice little layer, but also a counter melody to what was going on before, right? So it's like a right? So just some movement behind that to go with the pad, to go with the piano, to go with the sweeper, right? And to go with the chords. Here we go. So you put all those together. And so you hear another, ooh, that's another piece I had come in. I ain't even go there yet, but that's like an explosion kind of piece. Okay, so you got those sounds together now, right? So after we bring all those together, we still had to add another piece. And then, so before you heard me say I had the choir going on, right? So now I have another layer of the choirs like this, and that's the sounds again. Right? So we got one layer of the choir going together with all that like this. Right? And so it just gives it, you hear it like fades off with that, right? But we wanted to add even another layer to give it some more fullness, which are just chords, right? So I play them solo so you can kind of focus on them and hear them by themselves. So here's the choir 2 layer I just did with chords. Saying? So when you put that with everything else, this layer that's created, it just takes you to a whole like universe with it, right? And so it's like and then around again, it's like that little bottom lower explosion underneath there just to transition it there, because you always want to have a new transition. Especially, like I said, I was making it for the Olympics at first, so it had to be dramatic changes. You do that even when you do sync stuff for TV and film, which obviously this will also be for. So yeah, that is just about the whole verse there. Obviously, we bring in that heavy drum sound that we heard earlier, that drum roll. This one here. Bring that back in, so when you combine all of those together, you get basically the verse. The first 4 or 8 bars of the verse is like that, with just basic progression before it picks up, right? So the first verse starts like this. Ooh, that little sound, that's my favorite little old sound I put in there. It's like, I'm a spaceship guy, and it's like, welcome. This sound right here. Oh, this. Ooh, that little 3-piece. That's so beautiful. So that's the first half of the first verse, right? As you see the progression happen there, let's listen one more time. That transition that just happened right there is setting you up. So that first 4 bars of that verse is like, we're here, we're starting the story, but now we got to pick it up. So now basically, as we did earlier, you saw me do all the percussion, the drums and everything like that to start the track. Now I bring them in to make that second half of the verse have that drive. So now we just add one more thing to give it some extra drive, which is an electric piano with a side chain on it. So it's moving like this. Bass line, D minor, right? So it's just the bass line of D, G, C, and then an A, and it's just layering under there. So that second half of that track, when you bring all those percussions we did earlier in, and you bring the horns back, you get that transition, and it goes into the transition like this. And so now that's the whole second half of the first verse. So when you put it together, you see it goes from calm to up, right? And so it sounds like this. To the second verse. Woo! See, I didn't even break down the hook right quick, but the hook is basically all the percussion, all those horns in there. I just added a new electric guitar for the transition to bring you into the hook, right? Which was And so I played all of this live, right? So just to give you a little simple, it's like, it's like, I just give it that extra layer of like, ooh, we turning up. And if you can hear it, also some piano came in, right? And so it's just like an up and down piano. I believe I just went back and forth between the D, pause. Went back and forth between the key of D and the key of A. So it's up here. And then up. So it's like, right, and then it's like a progression down. And so yeah, when you add all those instruments together, you add that electric guitar, that's the hook right there, Unstoppable, right? And again, the second half of the song goes right back. Now, instead of the verse, like the first verse started very quiet and the story's just starting. And so it's like, even the first words in the song is I'm stranded on the road. So it's like opening up a movie scene. And so we start you at the bottom of the hill, and then we got to take you to the top of the hill, back down and back up again. And so the second verse, because we're already in it, we're coming off that hook, the drums are already in the song, right? And so we're back after the hook like this. We'll take it from going into the hook and dropping into the second verse like this. Drop off, choir, back. See? Same first verse, just with the drums now. Back. So there you have it. That is the breakdown of how I produced the Unstoppable track, available now on all streaming platforms. I'm going to put the cover of it right here so you can see it. Make sure you go get the song, stream it. It is basically a story. This is after I produced this, me and my brother G got in and I played it for him and he said, man, this is amazing. And we came up with the concept together, wrote the song together, and then obviously I recorded the vocals. And you know, the story of Unstoppable is basically saying, you know, you can overcome anything. You know, things will happen, you'll be stranded and you'll be knocked down, but no matter what, you'll keep fighting and you're gonna win, because at the end of the day, no matter what, even if you're alone, you know you're unstoppable. And so that's why I got the shirts, the hoodies, which are available now at www.itsdavidj.shop. So stream the song, get yourself a shirt and a hoodie, represent being unstoppable. And I'm here to tell you, as a first person experience, no matter what hits you in life, as long as you got God, as long as you got your faith, nothing can stop you. With God, it's already done. So like I always say, this is a phrase I say in real life is, and you can use it for yourself, me and God won. It's already done. Because God already did it. We're just in the process of becoming who we need to be to walk in the footsteps he already put in front of us. So me and God won. It's already done. I'm unstoppable. Appreciate you for staying with me today. Go stream the song Unstoppable, link in the description. Get yourself a shirt and a hoodie and represent being unstoppable in your own life. And stay tuned for more vibes from the Spaceship. Dream Walker out.